French President Emmanuel Macron will be taking over the role of Prime Minister this Tuesday. That is, until he names another man for the job. It comes after François Bayrou was voted out of office, losing a vote of confidence he had himself called. It leaves the country in political and financial uncertainty. James Vecina tells us more.
364 votes against, 194 in favour, and France now needs another Prime Minister. A crushing defeat for François Bayrou. The centrist politician was seeking to pass a budget for next year that would require over €40 billion worth of savings in an effort to reduce France's soaring debt. Unpopular with lawmakers and with his exit looming, Bayrou issued a final warning.
Dear lawmakers, you have the power to make the government fall, but you cannot erase reality. Reality will remain inescapable. Spending will continue to rise even more, and the burden of debt that's already unbearable will become ever heavier and ever more costly.
From the far left to the far right, political parties from across the spectrum warned that they'd be voting against Bayrou's plans, which they deemed to be too heavy on French workers. A way of also increasing pressure on President Emmanuel Macron, who's been working with a minority government since last year.
I believe that Emmanuel Macron must have the perfect lucidity to realize that he lost the elections a year ago, that the desire for change among the French people is considerable, and that he's largely responsible for the financial situation in which we find ourselves.
The country's debt has reached 114% of its GDP, making it Europe's third highest behind Greece and Italy. And crucially, France has been in debt for the last 50 years. But faced with continuous turmoil, governments have been unable to make the changes that they sought.
I'd wish that over the 18 months that lie ahead, we may make use of this time and not see months of repeated deadlock. We need to seek common ground, address urgent matters, protect French people, and prepare for the future.
Just like Gabriel Attal and Michel Barnier, François Bayrou joins the growing list of prime ministers having served for just a few months under Emmanuel Macron. Bayrou will be handing in his resignation on Tuesday, as the president will be left to nominate another prime minister who, against all odds, may find unanimity across Parliament.
Well, to get more insight, we can speak now to Professor and Researcher at the INSEEC Business School Grande École, Dr. Olivier Guyottot. Thanks so much for your time. Can I start by asking you, what do you think needs to happen now to get French politics, for a start, back on track?
Well, this is a real good question. For the moment, it's going to be a bit chaotic, and obviously the social situation with the general strike, which is supposed to happen on Wednesday, will not ease the situation. But obviously the priority is to have a new government, and Macron is going to be working on this. They are talking about maybe somebody like Xavier Bertrand, who is from the right wing, to be a potential candidate. He won't be calling somebody from the extreme right or from the extreme left, that is for sure. So in a way, it's all finding the same kind of balance he had with Bayrou, or there will be more chaos, and then obviously many options are on the table. LFI is calling for his resignation. The National Front, the National Rally, is calling for a new legislative elections. It's going to be interesting, but it's difficult to say what is going to be. Maybe the pressure from the street could actually accelerate things. We'll see.
Because Bayrou, it was his sixth prime minister. One wonders if continuing in the same steed, how much the government can advance on any of its projects in that case.
Yeah, well, the problem is that there is no majority at the moment in the French Assembly, and in a way, whoever is going to be the prime minister, the problem will remain, and so. So that is where Macron stands now, and which is in a way surprising is why actually Bayrou, because he proposed his vote of confidence, and it was a doomed gamble from the start. Everybody knew he was going to fail, and so was it a kind of resignation to failure, and because he knew he wanted to sort of get an exit before this this sort of social period, or did he really believe he could make it? In a way, it recalled like Macron's triggering the last legislative election when he thought he could make it, win a majority, and everybody knew it was not going to happen.
On this occasion, I mean, Bayrou was trying to pass his budget and said he was putting himself up for that vote of no confidence in order to be able to pass his budget. I mean, does it all ultimately come down to money?
Well, this is a big question, obviously, because politicians don't want to send messages to people. You're going to have more taxes, and you need to make efforts. And Bayrou took the sort of position like he tried to give this image of responsibility to the French people, saying, this is a time to make a decision. This is important. We cannot like spend as much as we've been doing for many years, and the other party say no, we cannot have such a strict and such a budget. Then obviously there is a debate in France between some people, especially the right, saying we need to be a bit more cautious with the money. And some people more on the left saying, the debt, it's only a question of trust with the market. It's not about the money. I mean, loads of countries have huge debts, like the United States, and things keep going on. So I think for him it was also a bit of a way to get out in style, in a way, saying, I am the guy, I'm the wise guy, I'm the statesman, I'm able to take my responsibilities.
Tell me though then, given that you're coming to us from a leading business school, I mean, how bad is France's financial situation? I mean, is the government actually on a knife edge when it comes to its budget, or is it just being used as a political argument, if you like?
Well, the deficit is worse than it was before. But if you look around other countries, I mean, every country is a bit in the same situation. I don't have the feeling France's situation is that dramatic if you compare it to many countries. I was in England, I was in Poland. When you look at all these countries, every country is a bit in this situation. The thing is, France is more that it was better before, and in a way, this is the result of all the money the governments have been spending after the COVID crisis. They spent a lot during the COVID crisis, and they kept on spending after the COVID crisis. I think people get used to this, and politicians kept on saying, okay, we're gonna have more money. So I think there is an issue, but the issue is more, as I was saying before, it's about market trust. It's about the image of France, and if we can borrow money at a sort of decent price, because people say these days we borrow money, but we are in a worse situation than Greece, than Italy, and this is something that people see as a real danger, which is surprising in a way, because if you look at the geopolitical situation, I mean, France remains a key player when you look at Gaza, when you look at Ukraine. When you look at foreign papers, Macron is there, France's voice seems to be important. But yeah, economically speaking, there is a bit of a situation. Even if I live in France, I don't feel the situation is that dramatic. But market can, if market suddenly starts changing, it can be a problem.
You mentioned there the image of France, and of course we are gearing up for a large-scale nationwide protest, this Block Everything group aiming to take to the streets. The impact of that?
Well, the impact will depend on how big the movement is. Obviously, everybody recalls les Gilets jaunes. I don't think it will be that big, because I think People want to show that they're kind of they're not very happy with the situation, but I feel the movement is already politically very orientated, and so I think this will also weaken its strength and its position. So let's see how it goes. Wednesday is going to be messy. Obviously, and on the 18th there is another day. Will it take will it be such a wave that it really makes the country like in a situation where, for example, Macron feels the pressure and will be obliged to resign? I don't think so. Even if I cannot anticipate, I don't have the feeling it will be that strong.
Dr. Olivier Guyottot of INSEEC Business School in Bordeaux, thanks very much indeed for joining us and bringing us your insight.
Thank you.